Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. We've got the hottest air of the season heading our way for later this week, so we need to prepare, at least mentally at first. The appearance of a heat wave is on the horizon, perhaps starting as early as Tuesday. That might be our first 90-degree day or hotter, slightly hotter than 90 degrees. Chase, thanks for joining from Twitter. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter live right now. I'm Cameron Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Staring down at a heat wave coming in mid to late week this week, the hottest air of the season. It could indeed add to our heat tracker that we have now already had 15 90-degree days or better. Luckily, here's the kind of asterisk for our heat wave this week. The dew points might not get too terrible at or around 70 degrees, but because we are looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 90s by the end of the week, we could still see heat index values around 105. Even the National Weather Service is thinking maybe out on a limb a little bit that 110-degree heat index is possible, but because, as we'll talk about in a second, this is not a classic Bermuda high setup. We are very lucky that the Gulf of Mexico is not being kind of siphoned off with some moisture heading on southwesterly winds toward our region. This is more of a continental high-pressure system, keeping our air a little bit drier than it would be, but still pretty darn hot. Even for this time of year, it is going to be above average for our temperatures. And on this map, pinks and reds are indicative of warmer, higher-pressure regions. And as you can see, only a slight nose of a Bermuda high coming in off of oceanic and Gulf of Mexico waters. That kind of keeps us a little bit less humid than we otherwise would be in this type of heat wave. Good evening, David. Peter, indeed, David, feeling like July, and Aaron, not looking forward to this heat. I am not either. You are not alone in that. Here are the possible ranges. This kind of is a background simulations included with the modeling system for the American weather model. As you can see, it's not a lock that we are right there at the 100-degree mark. Maybe Friday is our hottest day. Saturday has a chance of hitting 100 degrees as well. In my latest forecast at CWG.news/latest, I also look at the European weather model simulations, and the entirety of these weather modeling systems, including their background simulations, which alter one single variable at a time, they don't have a lock on 100 degrees, which we haven't hit since August of 2016. I have the exact date in my PM update here at CWG.news/latest. But the point is, it is going to be hot. It is going to be the hottest of our year so far. Heat index values here on Friday pictured. 105 degrees cannot be ruled out, so we might see a heat advisory issued by the National Weather Service by that point. All right, Paul is dreading the heat wave. Thanks for tuning in from Facebook. Hey, Charlene on Facebook. I'm glad you're at Lake Anna, and you are hopefully on the water this week as it gets hotter and hotter there on the Spotsylvania-Louisa border. We've got heat for the entire region kicking slowly into gear starting on Tuesday. Rain chances kind of dwindle Monday into Tuesday. We might be fairly dry despite maybe one or two pop-up showers or storms Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But as rain chances go down, temperatures are going to go up. It's luckily not too humid, luckily keeping the dew points around 70 degrees at worst, but because mid to upper 90s are expected by the end of the week, we could still see heat index values around 105 degrees, and our heat tracker will be added to. We are already at 15 days for the season of days where we're at least 90 degrees or hotter. We've got 15 so far, and we will probably add on a few more to that. All right, so daylight. We are still in our longest days of the year, but you've probably noticed slowly but surely kind of a later sunrise, earlier sunset. So you're speaking to me a couple minutes earlier each week here in July and August on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. It's our weekly Sunday sunset chat. Thank you so much for joining me. And I have the PM update here on CapitalWeatherGang.com, or go directly to CWG.news/latest. We've got David hitting a Thursday night concert in Bristow. Hopefully it'll be okay. Rain chances are taking a slight lull on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So honestly, if you make sure you mindfully hydrate on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with high temperatures, being very warm in the mid to upper 90s, but otherwise rain chances are lower on those days. But here it is, the rain deficit over the last 14 days. It is still there. We've had to water our gardens in the yellows and the oranges and the red regions. That is a very low percentage-wise of what we'd normally see over the last 14 days. We do have, excuse me, I keep turning that wrong one off. We want to do my latest forecast there, so you have that at CWG.news/latest. And the rain looking ahead over the next 7 days, preferred areas for rain are along and east of I-95. So gardeners, if you are kind of well west and toward the Blue Ridge and Appalachians, you're probably going to be in watery mode this upcoming week. The drought is still persisting. It is not expanding and maybe shrinking just ever so little bit there. The severe drought, the D2 drought north of DC has not gotten out of control. It is kind of contained there, so we need to continue to see more rain in the coming weeks. Be targeted there ideally. If the atmosphere, if I could order it up, I would love for rain to just be targeted there, but good news. There is a still continuing slight probability even into next work week looking ahead, kind of in the 8 to 14 day time frame of above average precipitation somewhat continuing in our region. Temperatures, if you're looking for a break from the heat, this is good news. There is a decent probability of below average temperatures next work week, so this signals that the atmosphere wants to break this heat wave maybe this weekend, at latest early next week. It does get a little iffy as we get toward the weekend, so stay tuned to CapitalWeatherGang.com as we get closer. Don is persisting in the central Atlantic. It is a tropical storm again. Slight probability as this area of interest in the yellow X enters the Caribbean Sea later this week. Slight probability that it develops into Tropical Storm Emily, but long way for that to go. It's still low probability of development, but I just wanted to show you the latest in the tropics. All right, let me show you the hot temperatures that are arriving as our rain chances go down. Monday and Tuesday offer some chance of rain, but as those rain chances do go down, temperatures go up. The heat wave technically could arrive as early as Tuesday if you define, like we do typically, a heat wave as at least 2 days consecutive in a row of 90 degrees or hotter. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, very high probability of being 90 or hotter. We could see our first 100-degree reading since 2016, so keep that in mind. This will be easily the hottest air of the season to date, perhaps the hottest air of this year of 2023. So heat wave is on our doorstep. Please make sure you are mindfully hydrating later this week. A heat advisory is possible since we do see the potential for heat index values to be at or above 105. We'll get to that in just a second. All right, David, you want to see more rain and cooler temperatures? If you could order up your weather, ideal weather, I love that. And Andrew, yes, you're looking forward to the heat, apparently. That's excellent. And 99 could indeed change to 100 degrees later this week. National Airport in the water could be a non-issue for this type of heat wave. Hey, Ruth Lisa, good to see you. Thanks so much for tuning in from Facebook. Yes, we're adding in more to our heat tracker this week. We're at 15. Could easily see 18 or 19 by the time you talk to me next on our weekly Sunday Sunset chat next Sunday. Now, here's the good news with this heat wave. It is going to not be as muggy and horribly oppressive as it could be. We're maybe keeping dew points at or around 70 degrees. We even might see upper 60s for dew points later this week. And this is because the source region of the high pressure system building into our region, creating the high pressure dome, for lack of a better term, it's going to turn into a heat wave of continental proportions, not oceanic or Gulf of Mexico source regions. So this continental air will be a little bit drier than we're normally used to in a Bermuda high situation. Now you can see a little nose there on the edge of this map of a Bermuda high trying to wedge its way in here just a little bit. So it's not going to be fully dry air, but because this center of the country high pressure system, denoted here in the pinks and reds, that's going to be the main driver of this heat wave. That's why we think it will get extra hot, but mid to upper 90s won't turn into 110 degree heat index values too easily. So keep that in mind. We're not pulling all the alarm bells on this one. There's no guarantee we even do see 100 degrees. Here are all the simulations for temperatures over the next several days from the American Weather Model. And confidence does go down by later Saturday into Sunday, but I think we do have two slight chances of 100 degrees or more on Friday and Saturday. Those could be the hotter days of our week, so keep that in mind. And here it is. I don't even want to show you this. The heat index values could be around 105 on Friday. We might be near this again on Saturday, so keep that in mind as we get closer. All right, glad it will be drier air, and yes, indeed, the heat is not quite as bad when we're dry. Indeed, 105 could be closer to 110 heat index pictured here for Friday. Latest forecast at CWG.news/latest. And indeed, Eric, if it is a little bit less humid and dew points are a little lower, the potential for high temperatures to get a little warmer is indeed there, because I love this about how on the radio frequency spectrum, sunlight goes into heating soil moisture and atmospheric moisture first before it goes into heating the air temperature. So if there's less moisture in the soil and the air, i.e. lower dew points, and we're in abnormally dry and drought conditions for parts of the region, the sunlight will immediately go to heating the thermometer temperature before other parts of the radio spectrum there. So that's kind of cool. I think we do have a potential indeed to get a little bit warmer than we might otherwise. All right, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube right now. My lights are getting warm, but it's okay. The heat wave is coming. I'm getting into the mood. Tuesday might be the earliest we see 90 degrees. We could see 100 degrees by the end of the week. You're talking to be a little bit earlier and earlier as we get further away from our summer solstice. I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Latest forecast at CWG.news/latest. I'm on the air another 8 minutes or so. Again, follow us on all three of our social media channels, and anytime you need us, we're at CapitalWeatherGang.com. All right, we've got Ed on Twitter. Hopefully it will be too hot. It will be too hot so all the crime kind of stays indoors. That's possible, but I've also seen evidence correlation that crime gets worse when we get hotter temperatures, so that's a possibility. All right, Paul, you're heading northeast. That's the right direction to go for a little bit less heat. It will be pretty hot up there, but you're closer to the edge of the continental high-pressure system that we looked at a minute ago. Lewis asking about the tropics. Let's look at that really quick. We've got no Cape Verde activity really at this point, but there is a disturbance there kind of in the lower central Atlantic, nearing the Lesser Antilles. Slight chance that that develops by the end of the week as it heads into the Caribbean Sea. If it does somehow manage to become a tropical storm, it will become Emily. That's the next E-name storm in our list. All right, we've got for you also here rainfall amounts over the next 7 days. They're offering a little bit of promise along and east of I-95, giving gardeners a bit of a break perhaps, but the rainfall deficit is around still. Very patchy because the nature of our rain source this time of year is very hit or miss showers and storms. We don't get, as we typically do in the cooler season, larger shields of what's called stratiform rain, more steady rain from larger low-pressure systems like nor'easters coming up off of the Carolina coast toward us. We have cold fronts moving through and hit-or-miss storms that pop up in the daytime heating every day. So as you can see, it's kind of bonus, feast or famine, depending on where you are. Even a few miles might make a big difference. But you definitely are watering your gardens in the last 14 days. As percentage-wise, you were very low in the water area for the oranges and the reds. You've definitely been watering. Now, you probably haven't watered in the purples and the darker blues. You've seen a surplus over 100% of what you normally would see in the last 14 days. And Chad, here it is for you. The drought conditions are slowly shrinking, slowly whittling away, but it is darn persistent. That D2 persistent severe droughts north of D.C., we can't quite kick it. We're not able to fully target persistent rains over weeks and weeks. So this is a longer-term effect. Year to date, we've got not just the rainfall deficit in the last 14 days in some parts of the region. This kind of reflects longer-term patterns, but we should be able to kick that as the summer goes on. That is our current thinking and good news there. Precipitation also showing signs of above-average signals for next work week as well, and temperatures signaling a decent chance of below average for next work week. So if you are not a fan of the heat wave that's coming at us by middle and late parts of this week, perhaps persisting into this weekend, it should break at some point, probably by early next work week at the latest. So we will keep you posted. Kristen, pollen is doing okay. That's a great question. And September, October for measurable rain, David, I think we are going to fill in our gaps. Maybe even the tropics offer us something before we get to September, October, but so far they're fairly quiet. I am optimistic that our droughts locally will be kicked and whittled away, kind of chipped away slowly but surely as we get toward the end of the summer. And that is our thinking in our summer outlook at CWG.news/summer outlook. All right, so let me go back to the top here for you so that you can see our forecast at a glance. Rain chances are diminishing early part of this week. Temperatures are rising as those rain chances go down. So if you do have outdoor plans and they're kind of hydrophobic and not wanting the rain, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are generally your days where there's only a slight chance of an outside pop-up shower or storm. Now, the problem is you'll need to mindfully hydrate because we do have temperatures, high temperatures maybe in the mid to upper 90s. Heat index values, which we'll review again by Friday, could be around 105 degrees. Let me make sure I've caught up on your comments and questions. Hurricane season, Charlene, is actually fairly typical for this time of year. We're kind of catching up to average. It ran a little bit ahead there for the early part of the hurricane season. And Chad, I think we talked about the drought, so we're caught up with you there. All right, let me check Twitter as well, Facebook and YouTube. We are all caught up. I'm Camden Walker for our weekly Sunday Sunset Chat. Thanks for joining me. Anytime you need us, we're at capitalweathergang.com. My latest forecast at CWG.news/latest. That's my PM update. I go into what the European model is looking like for this upcoming work week. Here's the American model. Also kind of hinting that we have a decent chance of upper 90s by Friday and maybe even into Saturday. But 100 degrees is also possible Friday and Saturday. It's not a lock. It's not a guarantee. But we've not hit 100 degrees since August, I believe, of 2016, and the exact date, I know I typed it into my PM update there at CWG.news/latest, so keep that as your reference there as well, and check out the European model simulations that I put in. So let's see. David, I think we're going to be below records on Thursday and Friday, but I can try and look that up for you. Chad, you're most welcome. And David, you should on Tuesday be okay for that Philadelphia Phillies game. Thanks for tuning in from YouTube. There is an outside chance that we do see a couple storms on Tuesday, but not too widespread as it looks now. The heat tracker is going up this week, and luckily, though, the dew points are not going to really get much above the 70-degree mark. So we'll add some kind of 90 or hotter days for our tracker this upcoming week, but not too much in as far as sultry, horrible conditions to go along with our heat. And that's because depicted here in the pinks and kind of almost red colorings, warm high pressure in the atmosphere is dominating from the center part of our country. This brings in continental, drier air than otherwise would we see from a typical Bermuda high pressure system that can tap into Atlantic moisture, Gulf of Mexico moisture. So our dew points won't be horribly high, horribly humid, but still not going to be pleasant. Mid to upper 90s still will, with a 70-degree-ish dew point, turn into heat index values around 105 degrees, potentially on Friday and maybe on Saturday as well. Those are the two chances of kind of the hottest potential 2 days. We might see 100 degrees and heat index values 105. Outside chance we see a couple 110-degree readings for heat index values when you're combining the air temperature with the humidity. All right. Oh, Kristen, you're most welcome. Thanks for tuning in to our weekly Sunday Sunset Chats on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook. So here it is. We've talked a little bit earlier tonight because our sunsets are getting earlier, 8:28 p.m. now, and that will keep coming earlier and earlier by a few minutes as we get further away from our long days of the summer solstice. Twitter looks like you're caught up on your comments, but I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And latest forecast that I wrote, the PM update at CWG.news/latest. Anytime you need us, we're at capitalweathergang.com. See you next Sunday, Charlene. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I think I will leave it. Well, let's run through things one more time. I think I have a moment here. Rainfall going forward is preferable areas along and east of I-95 over the next week. So hopefully gardeners will be happy along and east of I-95 by the time you talk to me next Sunday for a weekly Sunday Sunset Chat. Areas here in the last 14 days, as far as percentage-wise for rains normally expected in the last 14 days, very dry, West of the city, around Winchester, you're in the reds and oranges there. You've definitely been watering your gardens, but you probably have not been in the purples and dark greens where you've had over 100%. Drought is persisting in the region. We still haven't completely kicked it, but the good news is next work week still offers a slight probability where the atmosphere is signaling to us. We could see above average precipitation. Temperatures, luckily, are signaling below average tendencies for next work week, so this heat wave coming at us should break by the end of this weekend, if not early next week. We'll keep you posted as we get closer. This is a very decent heat wave. We want you to be mindful of it by the middle and later part of this week. Please hydrate mindfully. It is going to be the hottest air of the season. If we hit 100 degrees, it will be the first time since 2016. Chad, no major smoke near the surface to affect air quality currently expected in the early part of this week. That's kind of the foreseeable future. We'll keep you posted, of course. And Paul wants more rain. I'm sorry to hear your grass is brown. Purcellville, you're indeed one of those drier spots we just looked at in the last 14 days. Gail, you stay cool as well, and I'll see all of you. Good evening to M&M Collecting. I'll see you next Sunday as well. Thanks for tuning in from Twitter there. Take care and hydrate mindfully this week. I'll talk to you next Sunday.